Hello. Today will become the analysis of the most important characters that are introduced in the prologue of the Canterbury Tales. And we start with the Prioress. By the 14th century, the Catholic Church had become extremely wealthy, rich. In a century of plague, famine, poverty, the sight of a church ornamented with such gold seemed unfair to some people. And also the church's preaching against greed, accumulation of material objects seemed hypocritical to some. And so there was also a distaste for the excesses of the church. And there were many stories in that period about greedy churchmen, members of the church who were greedy. They want to accumulate to satisfy their needs, and who indulged themselves sensually and gastronomically, eating a lot, ignoring the poor classes that were begging at the doors of the churches. Before we start, we have to remember that a nun in the Middle Ages, to become such, had to vow, to promise, to make 3 promises: the vow of poverty, the vow of chastity, and the vow of obedience. And among the different roles, the different people that were in an abbey, 2 were the leading ones. One was the abbess, it was the head, it was elected for life by the nuns, and one was the prioress, there was the deputy, that is the second in charge. We are going today to see one of the travelers. It was a prioress. When we think of a nun, we think of a certain kind of woman, a person who lives without luxuries, devout, who has as a most important goal a religious life. When we read about Madame Eglantine, we are surprised to see that she has a secular lifestyle. She has many expensive things. She keeps dogs as pets, and she enjoys the company of her dogs more than the company of other people. She's beautiful, almost too pretty to be a nun, and she had also, face, small nose, red lips. She had a lipstick that was considered not quite appropriate for a nun in those years. There was also a nun, a prioress, her way of smiling very simple and coy. Her greatest oath was only by Saint Loy, and she was known as Madame Eglantine. And while she sang a service with a fine intoning through her nose, as was most seemly, and she spoke daintily in French extremely, after the school of Stratford-atte-Bow, French in the Paris style she did not know. The prioress is introduced in this way. Her name was Madame Eglantine. Now, Eglantine, she took the name of a flower that is the symbol of the Virgin Mary. So she is, aiming very high. But while Mary, the Virgin Mary, is, the symbol of love and mercy, we understand in the description of this woman that these 2, love and mercy, are not quite the top qualities for her. We know that when there was a service, she sang with the other nuns. She spoke in French. When she sang in French. But careful, because French was the language of the aristocracy, of the upper classes. But when she sang in French, her accent was not the real French of Paris, but it was a French learned at school in Stratford-atte-Bow, that it was a town. So she studied, she was educated, cool, and she now is trying to imitate the style of the aristocracy. At meat her manners were well taught withal, no morsel from her lips did she let fall, nor dipped her fingers in the sauce too deep, but she could carry a morsel up and keep the smallest drop from falling on her breast. For courtliness she had a special zest, and she would wipe her upper lip so clean that not a trace of grease was to be seen upon the cup. When she had drunk to eat, she reached a hand sedately for the meat. The narrator then focuses on the table manners of the prioress in minute detail. Remember that we are talking about the Middle Ages. They didn't use forks and spoons and knives as we do today, so they used their hands. And when she ate, no morsel, no piece of food used to fall from her lips. And when she put her fingers inside the sauce, to take some food inside the sauce, she didn't put her fingers too deep into the sauce, but she could carry the morsel, the food from the plate to her mouth without dirtying herself, just keeping every piece of food in her hand. And why this? Well, because she had a special attitude to behave like an aristocratic person. In fact, for example, after she finished eating, she would wipe clean her upper lip, so clean that no grease, no oil remained on her cup after she had drunk. And when she ate, instead of taking very quickly the food and eating quickly, no, she moved her hand, took the food without putting her fingers too deep inside the sauce, and then very slowly she put delicately the food up into the air and then into her mouth. Already from here we understand that her portrait is very realistic, but it doesn't appear to be a very religious person. It's more interested maybe in the secular life, in appearing to be a lady. She certainly was very entertaining, pleasant and friendly in her ways, and straining to counterfeit a courtly kind of grace, a stately bearing fitting to her place, and to seem dignified in all her dealings. As for her sympathies and tender feelings, she was so charitably solicitous. She used to weep as she but saw a mouse caught in a trap, if it were dead or bleeding. And she had little dogs she would be feeding with roasted flesh or milk or fine white bread, and bitterly she wept if one were dead, or someone took a stick and made it smart. She was all sentiment and tender heart. And here we find a key word that is the key to understand her personality and also some other character we're going to see. Counterfeit. What is counterfeit? Counterfeit, for example, if you counterfeit money, you create money that imitates the real money. It's fake, but it looks like. So she is not what she seems. Because Chaucer says she was, very entertaining. By the way, this is not a quality I think appropriate in a noun. Entertaining people socially, pleasant and friendly, and straining to counterfeit a courtly kind of grace. Now, training means trying hard to imitate a kind of grace that was typical of the upper class. So it was unnatural because she did not belong to the upper class, as you can see also, because her French is not French of Paris, it's the French burlesque school. So what the others see when she picks, when she behaves in this aristocratic way, is that she's a sham, a fake. It's not a real person, what they are seeing. And then we're told about her dogs. These little dogs are typical of a lady, keep her company. And for her dogs, she has a very tender feeling. First of all, she gives them very expensive food. Roasted flesh, roasted meat, milk, and white bread. Don't forget that these are the food that is only for the very rich. And when one of her dogs dies, or somebody used a stick to behave them, she was really, all sentiment, a soft heart. She really felt strong emotion, strong pity for her dogs. This is what it is written. what it is not present here, instead, is that she doesn't behave in the same way when there are poor people. She doesn't give good food to poor people. She's not moved in her heart when other people pain or suffer, but their thoughts are everything to her. Her veil was gathered in a seemly way. Her nose was elegant, her eyes glass grey, her mouth was very small, but soft and red. Her forehead, certainly, was fair or spread, almost a span across the brows. I own she was indeed by no means undergrown. Her cloak, I noticed, had a graceful charm. She wore a coral trinket on her arm, a set of beads, the goddess twinked in green, whence hung a golden brooch of brightest sheen, on which there first was graven a crowned A, and lower amor vincit omnia. And then there is a physical description. Hair veil, that you know is what nuns put on their head to cover their hair, was put in such a way as to show her face to the best. Her nose was, refined, and she had grey eyes, and her mouth was very delicate, small and soft, and red because she used a lipstick probably, and a lipstick is not what a nun should put. Her veil was put in such a way as to show her forehead. Probably this was a way to show how beautiful her face was. Let's talk now about her clothes. Her cloak, that is a kind of coat, large coat they had on top, was very expensive. And she had also some jewels. She had on her arm a bracelet or coral, expensive. On her neck a set of beads, green, decorated in green. This is like a rosary, we may think. But at the end of this rosary, instead of a cross, as it was typical for a nun, there was a brooch in gold, something to, a decoration. And what was on this brooch? There was a big A, and under this A was a quotation in Latin, amor vincit omnia. That is, love conquers all. This sentence was typical of courtly love. Courtly love, as you know, is the love of a poet for a lady, maybe a married lady, somebody, that is particularly beautiful. Here is not the love of God, is the love of the courtly life. And in conclusion, Madame Eglantine considered herself to be an upper class, aristocratic person. However, from the description, it is implied that she is not. There are details that suggest that she was born into a poor family. In fact, she speaks French. It is not the real French of France. And the things she does, how she shows herself, do not show the devotion to religion typical of nuns. In fact, her lifestyle is quite secular, based on material things. Probably, Madame Eglantine uses a religious lifestyle as a means to advance socially, to be appreciated, considered by the other. And here, so we have an example, a practical example, of how some characters in the Canterbury tales show themselves in a certain way. They try to appear something, but in the eyes of Chaucer, they are something different.